So much more to offer, not just theater, not just music, but food and culture and people. And you will find that warmth of, if you walk down the street, people say hello.
I'm Denise Lee, and my titles, I am the founder and the executive director of Visions for Change, a nonprofit organization, and I am the founder of Denise Lee on Stage and the DLO Cabaret Series. I got my start in theater, well, I've always known I wanted to be an actress. Literally told my mom at 8, who said, well, what else are you gonna do? But I've always enjoyed theater. I've always enjoyed the outlet that it gave me. At Roosevelt High School here in Dallas, I was in the theater department. I went to East Texas State for about 10 or 15 minutes, but and then came home. But I always wanted to do theater, and my very first show was at the South Dallas Cultural Center, and Vicki Washington Nance was the producer of the African American Artist Alliance. And from there, that's all I've ever wanted to do. One of my most memorable roles, I don't know that I can narrow it down. There's several for different reasons. I have loved the character in The Old Settler. Of course, Billie Holiday at Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill. I believe also being able to play Amanda Wingfield in The Glass Menagerie. I was able to do that. And I enjoy playing characters not only that tell our traditional stories, but also that tell stories that are ours as well, but nobody has seen us in. And by the fact that I'm in it, it becomes a Black story. To play Imani Othello in Frankie's production was one of the most challenging things that I've done, because I didn't want to try to create the story of Othello. As a woman, as a Black woman in the setting of football, it's a completely different story. The dynamic is the same, but what I go through as a woman is different. And a lot of the feedback we got was that women saw themselves, no matter what field they worked in, whether it was football or whether it was just in their office, and how people expected more of them or looked differently at them and what they had to accomplish. And so to be able to take that on as a Black woman and to tell Imani Othello's story, not Othello's story. I was able to tell her story. I was able to tell my story in that, and all of the pressures that come with being the first. I started my cabaret series because, well, I've always loved cabaret singing. I started singing at a dingy, dirty, little smoky piano bar called The Hideaway, Bill's Hideaway on Fitzhugh. And I tell people I will always mention and always pay homage to that little space because it helped me find my voice. I had been a theater performer probably 15 years, maybe longer than that, but that's as far as I'm going. But I had been a performer, but I'd always hidden behind characters. So if somebody didn't like something, it was like, well, they didn't like the character choice. In The Hideaway, I found my voice as a singer, as an entertainer, and as someone who could relate to people differently. It taught me how to deal with an audience. It taught me about being spontaneous. It is the best training for improv ever. It helps. We have to start thinking out of the box. If I say I want to have a meeting about, equity and inclusion, you get people that go, oh. And those are the people that need it. But if I say, hey, come to our cabaret show, they come to that and they still get what I'm hoping they'll get. And maybe it will, it will help them to begin conversations in their own home. The purpose of my conversations, of my cabaret show, is to create a ripple effect. It does no good if it stays in the room. You've got to take what you feel into your lives, into your family, into your workplace. And I can't tell you the number of people that said until I started coming to those conversations, or even the cabaret, it gave me more things to think about, and I notice things now. And that's what we want to do. I have always been a big advocate for social justice, but not as active as I needed to be, because just not knowing what to do. Speaking up in my spaces, when the police officers were shot in 2016, and social media became the ugliest I had seen it at that point, and people who I knew to be friends were just yelling at each other. And I literally went on social media. I tagged every church and every theater that I knew and said, I need a space. We need to talk. I got no responses. Bart, who used to work here, sent me a private message and said, I'll bet we can do it at the Children's Theater. Let me talk to Robin. And sure enough, Robin said, absolutely. And so I went on social media, I think it was like a Tuesday. I said, next Monday we're having a meeting. I didn't know where yet. I said, I don't know where. Share this message and put it. I'm tired of us not talking to each other. We want to work on advocacy, not just artist advocacy, but advocacy in the community where people learn to speak up to each other for themselves and to build bridges with those they need to. You know, what do theaters or businesses need to hear? How do they need to hear it? How do artists or employees need to approach each other and teach them how to talk to each other? Whatever programs we can create or support that works toward building community for all of us. Because realistically, black folks not going nowhere, brown folks not going anywhere, white folks not going anywhere, and we have to coexist. You don't have to like me, just leave me alone. Or respect my space that I am here. It's not, we always talk about nobody's asking, they're not inviting us to the table. If you don't start first of all, it's not their table to give me a seat. I'm just telling you, move your books out of my way so I can sit down. This has always been my seat at the table, but people have gotten so used to it being their table, they forget to move over and make room for me. What have I learned on this journey? To talk to my younger self. It sounds probably so cliche, but I'm enough. And even when I'm not enough, I am enough. My name is Denise Lee, and this is my story. My name is Denise Lee, and this is my story.